All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the Gunner Technology Livestream, a weekly tech talk for non-techies and techies alike. I'm your host, Derry Merkins. With me is CEO of Gunner Technology, Cody Swan. What's going on, Cody?
What is going on? I was putting out fires and sending newsletters as quickly as possible. So excuse the typos in the newsletter this week or the show announcement, because I'm sure there are a ton of them. So I actually do have an IQ. I don't know.
You should have run it through that service, that grammar service.
Oh yeah.
There's an actual grammar API. Maybe we'll link to it. There's an API where you can send English sentences and it'll tell you what the grammar mistakes are. And it looked like it caught I guess like homonym mistakes, like there versus there, like their coat versus there's your coat. And then it caught spelling errors too.
It was pretty crazy. It was actually pretty dang good. I definitely want to think of a use for that.
Yeah.
Other than just being
selling proofreading services and just run it through an API.
Well, like actually they had a list of interesting use cases for it below, and now I can't remember what they were. But there were some pretty interesting use cases. Like you could put it through your pipeline of your emails where it automatically run through it before email was sent and stuff like that. So there were some interesting use cases. I'll have to go back and check it out.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool tool. People should check it out. Maybe we'll link to it in the next newsletter. Speaking of newsletters, but we can dive into today's episode. We've got our Country Store giveaway. Country Store is a lifestyle brand for anyone who loves the outdoors. You can visit them at countrystoreoutfitters.com and sign up for the giveaway on our Facebook page. The winner this week is Alice J from Norfolk, Virginia. So Alice, you've got a Country Store hat heading your way, along with copies of our ebooks, including the new ebooks that are going to drop this week, which is sort of like our best of 2018 series. So you got a whole bunch of Gunner Technology stuff coming your way. Hope you enjoy that. And for anyone who didn't win this week, make sure to sign up on our Facebook page. And while you're on our Facebook page, you can answer our question of the week, which this past week. What was that, Cody?
Oh, I am ready to go this time. This is
my gosh, this is shocking.
I don't need to bring it up. I know it. I committed it to memory. This week's question of the week was: did you set any goals for 2019?
That's right. Yeah. So what do we get? Do we get any good ones?
Yeah, we got yeses. Good ones. Like someone said, they're going to listen to the podcast every week, so I think that's a pretty good goal.
That's the best one.
Yeah, I mean, it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's like being a member of the Jelly of the Month Club. And that would be another interesting bet: is how many Christmas Vacation references can Cody and Derry get into each episode?
Oh God, I don't know if you set that number high enough.
I know. And so we got some of those, and then we got typical kind of like, again, we were kind of talking about the difference between resolution and goals, and I think there's a lot of resolutions in there, which is fine because when I actually posted it, I wasn't thinking of a delineation between the two. So we got like the standard, like working out, eating better, things like that.
Which I think eating better is a resolution.
And so is working out. Like,
yeah, that's true too. Yeah, unless you have like specific workout goals. Like I think a resolution would be to work out every day, and a goal would be I want to run, a 20-minute 5K.
Right.
By X date. A smart goal.
A dream would be I want to look like The Rock.
I want to smell what The Rock is cooking. That's my dream. So what's the question for next week? What we got coming up?
How many of you have given up on your 2019? Or have you given up on your 2019 resolution or goal?
Yeah, I guess we'll be at the end of January. I think that's usually how long it lasts, probably.
Oh, if that long, man. If that long. So I set goals. I set goals. I didn't really set resolution, and I've already. But see, the thing is, I didn't set very attainable goals. Like, drink 3 gallons of water every single day.
Oh yeah, so, how's that going? I remember
it's going
about that in an episode 2 or 3 episodes back.
It's going fine, but of course, there's been a day where I didn't get 3 gallons in. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah. I should have been like, it wasn't smart. I should have been like, at least 5 days a week, I'll drink 3 gallons of water a day, kind of something like that. And I would still be on that, but
yeah, and that is a good example of. See, I would almost. Well, no, I guess that's a goal. But I'm thinking of like Jerry Seinfeld had like that thing that was super popular for a hot minute, where he would just put an X on a calendar every day that he wrote a joke, and he like wanted to keep the chain going. It was called like "Don't Break the Chain." That was a big thing, I think, last year, maybe the year before.
Right. Actually, two things on that. I thought you were going to go about the masturbation episode where they try to go the longest in many days without masturbating.
Right. And Kramer walks back in like 5 minutes later and slams money on the counter.
I'm out.
Yeah.
But there was an app which I don't need to say his name, but he was a former ESPNer, and they left, and it was like my one thing, not my one thing, something else, but it was about that the Jerry Seinfeld thing, where it was an app where you basically say you're gonna do one thing every single day, and you basically just check every day that you go through if you did it or not. And typically I'm really good at that stuff because I'm like a binary person. I'm a very schedule driven, routine driven person. So it's almost
non-binary.
Right. It's almost easier for me to say I'm going to do something every single day rather than like I'm going to do it 5 days out of 7. I mean, 5 days out of 7 is easy.
Because it's either yes or no. You either did or you didn't.
Right. And so like I've always like I had this weird. I wish I would have at some points. I wish I would have gone in the military because I think I would have very well thrived in that like yes or no, did you do it, did you not type atmosphere where kind of like everything is yes I did it, no I didn't kind of thing. But I'm very much like that with everything. Like I wake up, make my bed, brush my teeth, splash water in my face. Like everything is kind of like laid out like that.
Well, that's the thing. I think they always say it takes like 90 days to build or no, that might be too much. It's 40 something. There's some number of days it takes to build a new routine, basically. If you just do something every day, all of a sudden after X number of days, it's somewhere between like 30 and 90. It just becomes
30
habit.
and 90. We should investigate that.
Yeah.
And I'll be the guinea pig.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we sort of have been over the course of our lives. We've sort of accrued all these different habits that we put to use on a daily basis.
True.
That initially we just started doing once a day, every day. And then all of a sudden, you couldn't imagine going a day without doing it. So like brushing your teeth or splashing water on your face. So everything is sort of like that. But anyways, that's it. We'll see how many people are still sticking with their resolution from the beginning of the year where they're trying to build their new habit.
Right.
So hop on our Facebook page, answer that question of the week, and sign up for the Country Store giveaway while you're on there. But we can go ahead and dive into, that's good advertising for the question of the week in Country Store. We can dive into our topic of the week, which is actually advertising. So we talked about marketing last week. What's the difference between marketing and advertising?
Oh, yeah, that's good. And I just realized I totally bombed the newsletter by saying today we're talking about prospecting because I read ahead.
Yeah,
so
it's next week, right?
For those of you tuned in, we're not talking about prospect, talking about advertising. So it's weird because, again, the overarching theme of this series is kind of like set your own definitions, like do your research, but then set your own definitions and make sure everyone else in your company or your organization understands your definition. Because again, some people use advertising and marketing interchangeably. Kind of what we look at is advertising is the placement, the where, like where is this going, and the creative, the what, like what are they going to see? So that's kind of what we view as advertising. So like a marketing strategy would be to raise brand awareness among public school teachers kind of thing. Mm-hmm. The advertisement may be a 30-second video interview with a public school teacher on Facebook, if that makes any sense.
So it would almost be like marketing is the who and the why. Who do you want to target and why are you targeting them? Whereas the advertising is more the what and the where.
So we have it, you kind of went ahead. So we have it as their marketing is made up of a number of things, including advertising. And the other thing is research. And marketing research is exactly what you said, the who, the when, and the why.
As far as advertising goes, because I know advertising is much more of an art than a science because it's much more creative than the market research where you're actually trying to drill down the numbers. What's the best strategy to go from the research to an effective advertising campaign?
Right. So it's interesting because we talk about this again back and forth all the time. This whole marketing thing involves left brain and right brain collaboration. The kind of and again it supersedes that on a higher level. So the kind of executives say we want to reach public school teachers, right? And so then the left brains go out and they crunch all these numbers to see the most effective way to reach public school teachers. Maybe like what basically they run numbers. They say, okay, well, public school teachers earn $40,000, between $40,000 and $60,000 a year. They drive sedans. Like they do all this like profiling, this crazy profiling based on freely available data, because you can't just say show this ad to public school teachers. You can say show this ad to people who make $40,000 to $60,000 a year. So basically what you're trying to do, what the left brains do, is create that faceless profile that fits what a public school teacher is. And so when you show the ad to those attributes, it's most likely going to be a public school teacher. That's the left brains. And then the right brains are basically like, okay, what the left brains have figured out that whatever we make is going to be shown to a public school teacher. We're relying on them that they got that right. So we're going to use our kind of creativity to decide what would resonate most with a public school teacher when they actually see it. So that's the kind of thing where the left and right brain go. And then it goes back to the left brain, because the big part about after the creatives do their thing is being able to see if it actually worked.
Right.
So you have to then again, from the executive level up, they'll set the goals, right? And then the left brains have to figure out if the right brain's creative contributed to that goal, and if not, why, kind of thing.
And so as far as the split between left and right brain, what's the value in outsourcing the right brain or the left brain activity versus trying to keep it all in-house with a single team?
Man, that's a really good question. And so I would highly, you look at your strengths and weaknesses. We're a very left brain organization at Gunner Technology. I mean, we have creative types, but our strength is in analysis and kind of logic and things like that, business planning, so forth and so on. So if we want a creative made or an advertisement made, we should go to we would be best served by going to an advertising agency who does that, for a living. Same thing with vice versa. If you're like a design agency and you have those creative types, you really need to partner with a kind of like a development firm or a research firm who can tell you, what attributes you're looking for, and then also how to track the results. Because going back to our example of this public school teacher and this 30-second video, we're going to show them the advertisement. You want to have a goal. So again, let's say we said the goal was brand awareness or awareness among public school teachers. Maybe let's say to join a union. Let's say that's to join a union. And so the end goal, I guess, would be to have them sign a petition. And so basically there's a lot of steps between seeing that video and signing that petition. And the left brains and the developers need to create a kind of a funnel of each step and know how many people are in each step of that funnel and why they are not moving to the next level of that funnel. So you need the left brains as well, and including a lot of that is adding developers who can say add certain tracking code to your website to see if these people are moving to the next step of the funnel.
I was just gonna say, because it's interesting, especially in our industry, like we've seen both sides. I think more so we see the left brain imagining that they're creative and coming up with just horrendous campaigns that are completely ineffective. But I think as more people get involved in the tech sphere, we're seeing a lot of right brain thinkers come in and having no idea of how to sort of track the effectiveness and especially how to even initially target their advertising at the right audiences. So we've worked with a number of design firms who that doesn't even come across their radar. They sort of create the material, the advertising material to sort of put out there, but then they have no way to see if it's actually working or not. And I would almost say that's the most important step, is understanding both sort of preliminary effectiveness measures and then having some sort of mechanism to determine whether it was effective after the advertisement ran. So what sort of tools can we use there to track this kind of stuff?
Yeah, and I'll take it a step further. I will say, to piggyback off what you said, the worst thing you can do is not have like a concrete goal and a way to figure out if you are effectively moving people toward that goal. Because
yeah, it's almost like if you want to fail on one side, you want to fail on the right brain side versus left brain side. If you're a company like ours who runs numbers constantly and is constantly tracking stuff, maybe the advertisement isn't 100% as effective as it could be. That's way better than having no idea what the numbers are, having no idea what audiences you should be targeting, having no idea how to even, if you know the audience, how to target that audience effectively. If you're running the most beautiful advertisement in the world, but it's getting to the wrong people or not landing in the right places, that's less effective than maybe having a so-so advertisement that's hitting the right audiences.
Exactly right, because almost like Kafka's monkeys, by process of elimination, if you can rule out what doesn't work, you'll eventually get to what does work.
Right.
But if you can't
eliminate, squirrel finds a nut every now and then, kind of thing.
Right. If you can't even eliminate what didn't work, then you just spin in circles, man. And that's the worst, because that's when you really burn through cash. And that's when people throw their hands up in the air and they say, yeah, I tried Google AdWords for a little bit and those keyword stuffs, but all I did was end up wasting my money. Well, what did you do? Like, did you try? You change it? What didn't work? And they have no idea. They're put in some money, put in some keywords, put in a graphic, and let it rip. And unfortunately, I blame Google and Facebook and all those guys a little bit, because they make it seem like it should be so easy for John Doe running his cupcake shop to create a keyword campaign and get going. And it is. John Doe really can create that campaign and get going.
It's easy to get going, yeah.
And start giving that money to Google. But have no idea. And again, usually what happens is there's some success up front. They're like, yeah, we got something. And then they put serious dough into it, but they have no idea why it actually worked, or if putting more money into it is going to, return the same results. And it never does. Yeah. So and kind of parlaying your original question into my answer, those tools like Google AdWords, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, they all offer advertising tools. And they're a lot of them are really good tools. However, if you don't know how to use those tools, it's like having like an impact drill, which is like a really nice tool. But if you don't know how to use it, you're either going to just let it sit there and rot, or you're going to cause damage using it on things you're not supposed to. So like, it's all about integration. Like, you have to integrate these tools with your website, or integrate these tools with your newsletter. It's all about, because again, you're talking about MailChimp, YouTube, Google search, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. So your website, you have to have a process that can track and integrate all this data across all those platforms. And there's a lot of kind of platforms out there that try to do that. AdRoll, Hootsuite in some respects. But again, really what they're just doing is aggregating the data. You have to know how to make meaning out of that data.
Are there any sort of common features to good advertising, or standard tips and tricks that work that maybe people aren't aware of that would help an advertising campaign get off the ground?
What's weird is I'm reading a pretty good book right now, and it's called Flip the Funnel. Just giving it a shameless plug. There you go. I don't know this guy. I have no idea.
Royalties.
I don't know who Joseph Jaffe is, but
we'll try and get him on the show. It'd be fun to talk to somebody on the show like that.
Yeah, that would be totally.
Let's see if we can get him to come flip the funnel on the Gunner Technology Livestream.
And kind of like he was saying, and I'm only a couple chapters in so far, but he says that like one of the most common attributes about advertisement is risk taking. Kind of that willingness to kind of take a risk, maybe like with an edgy ad, things like that. And again, we see things like
the Gillette be the what was the Gillette ad that just ran? It was like, be the best man, or be the right man, or be a good man, maybe. Because I think Gillette was the best a man can get, right?
Yeah. But then
exactly. It was like, don't be a horrible chauvinist pig or something like that was their new ad, which raised a ton of brand awareness. My God, it got everyone talking about Gillette. I don't know if it was effective or not, but
well, and so the example this guy used, and I want to say it's Hyundai. I'm pretty sure it's Hyundai. So this book was written right in like 2009, like right after the recession. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize this, but I guess Hyundai had this, like, if you buy a car and then lose your job,
you can live in it.
Yeah.
Was it really?
No.
Okay, all right.
If you buy a car from us, probably a new car. If you buy maybe not newer or like certified pre-owned, and you lose your job within 6 or 12 months, we'll refund full price, and you just give us back the car. And they were like, they took a risk. I mean, they could have, with as many people were losing their jobs, they could have like really lost their asses, but their sales went up 15%, or their profit went up 15% for the year. So like they were up 15% at the end of the year, which was crazy. So that willingness to take risks. And so they took a risk with like a promotion.
Like steal a base, steal a taco.
Yeah, exactly. And you see like brands take risks. Like Pepsi had that, like, who was that? Was it Kylie Jenner or whatever? Who
was
like
one of those Kardashian Jenner girls.
Yeah, and they said it was so tone deaf. I don't even remember what it was. But so
I think it was like, if you drink Pepsi, you're going to change the world, was basically the message.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So basically, and you always wonder, because Pepsi's not stupid. And so what they did was they took what they're talking about in this book is a calculated risk. And so basically, I guarantee you Pepsi said, this may end up looking really bad. This may end up looking really bad. But what is the fallout from it looking really bad? And
well, I think also, this is kind of an aside for the advertising topic, but it's an interesting topic, because I think what these companies are doing is they're realizing, like, number one, whatever brand you start with when you're young is basically the brand you'll use for the rest of your life. So, you know, a 65-year-old Pepsi drinker probably isn't going to stop drinking Pepsi because of one stupid ad, just because their brain is so addicted to Pepsi that's all they're going to drink. So they're trying to figure out the best way to get young kids to start drinking Pepsi, and for some reason that message lands really well with young people. So it might be controversial to anyone over the age of 30 maybe, and seem like the most tone deaf stupid thing, but I think it actually is appealing to younger people who see that advertisement somehow. Which again, they're not stupid, they know what they're doing. And
again, to take that into the calculated risk, the young people, and again, some of these very left-leaning people are the ones shouting this is cultural appropriation. So it's kind of like
okay, yeah, so maybe a little bit tone deaf.
But my point is like they aren't drinking Pepsi anyway, right? Mm-hmm. So who cares?
Right.
What the people who aren't using your product say. So like it's like a calculated risk. We talked about this with the president and the NFL. You know, he's basically he's created two sides to this, and the people who are against him, they're not watching the NFL anyway. Right. So like, of course you can kind of whip up frenzy in that arena if the people who are going to get angry at you aren't using your product anyway. So what? Because then all they're going to do is they're going to raise the issue up. And then the people who actually do support your brand are going to be more vocal supporters of your brand. So it's all about taking a calculated risk. Like, would I advocate doing a commercial where like it has like a Klansman and like an South African tribe member shaking hands? No, that has no upside kind of thing. It has no upside whatsoever.
Right.
But calculated controversy is a good way to take a risk.
Okay, so take a risk is probably a good tip for advertising. A calculated risk is a feature of good advertising. Anything else from flipping the funnel, or just from experience as far as good advertisements go?
Yeah,
maybe more specifically in sort of the tech sphere.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So flip the funnel again, and I will definitely send this book to you when I'm done, because it actually is like probably the only the second great book I've read on marketing, and I'm only halfway through. So one thing that has proven time and time again, in a down economy, the organizations that increase their advertising and marketing budget, specifically advertising, are the ones that not only see higher gains, but see gains that last longer. And
I kind of counterintuitive, but I guess in a way it does kind of make sense, because people, in a down economy are looking for outlets to sort of release their anxiousness about the economy, and will buy stuff, and then continue to buy stuff when the economy improves.
Exactly. And think about it, because most companies actually will obviously tone down their marketing.
Right. Yeah.
So you have there's less noise. And so when there's less noise, not only do you see or hear the advertisement, but because there's less noise, you remember it. So even after the recession, everyone's come back in, you still remember that when it was kind of like a clear ocean and there was just one star in the sky. You remember that one star kind of thing. So that was a really good takeaway from that as well.
I mean, one thing that I've heard, I'm not sure if he talks about this, but as far as brand awareness goes, just the number of times that someone sees your logo or your company name, and this might fall more under marketing than advertising, but it is a bit of advertising because you want a memorable logo or something that people can latch onto. I guess with people, familiarity breeds contempt, but it seems to be the exact opposite with products, where familiarity breeds, I guess, sort of a liking of the product or the brand. So that's why, like, baseball stadiums will just have Budweiser logos all over the place. You might think, what the heck is the point of that? But it's to associate Budweiser with a baseball game, which is something that you enjoy. And then you start seeing Budweiser logos all over the place in all these places where you see stuff that you enjoy, and then all of a sudden you like Budweiser. So yeah, I think just getting your brand and your name out there as much as possible via advertising or via whatever means possible is a huge step to take.
It's so weird. And and the other thing it's important to remember, the other thing that's really important to remember, and you just touched on it, is we, even if we think we are so self-aware, even the most self-aware person doesn't realize the effects that marketing and advertising has on them.
Right.
And I say this all the time. I'm like, why? I was driving through Philadelphia, and like they had like Lincoln Financial was all over the the sports complex where all four or three stadiums were. I'm like they must spend like hundreds of millions of dollars to own this area. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, all it is their name. But then I'm thinking, like, Lincoln Financial has been around for a long time. They know what they're doing.
They know better than us what they're doing.
Right. They know better than us. Exactly. Like, so you just keep that in mind, that you generally don't know the effect that advertising and marketing even has on yourself.
Yeah. And that sort of gets back to the left brain, right brain divide, because, you know, the right brain is obviously putting Lincoln Financial on the side of stadiums, and the best way to do that. But then it really comes back to the fact that what is the return on that? It might cost $100 million to put it on the side of a stadium. If you're bringing in $150 million in business based on brand revenue, and that's, you know, 80% of brand awareness is having your name on the side of the stadium or mentioned, you know, every Sunday live from Lincoln Financial Field, and people start learning your company's name, that if the return is positive, then by definition, it's good advertising.
And now we've touched on a really good example, because I'm going to have to do some research after this, because I want to know how Lincoln Financial knows it's successful. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
And like, I think largely it's bringing people in and polling and surveys and stuff to understand what the awareness of the brand is, or the company name. And I think they sort of, my understanding of it is they'll just periodically do that after running campaigns, after, you know, they might run a commercial in a certain segment and then take a poll before and after the commercial segment ran, and then calculate what the cost is for running the commercial, calculate what the value gained is for the new customer awareness. Like, how many of those people who are aware of the company now who weren't before convert into paying customers, and of those paying customers, how much revenue does that bring in? And then you just compare the numbers.
Well, yeah, sure, 100%. But how do they do that with like their sponsorship of the stadium? Like, so, and I guess what I can
maybe that's more art than science at that point.
Well, but see, I guarantee they have some way to say that our ownership of the link is worth this much. I guarantee you. And maybe when they have a new customer, they're like, "Oh, where'd you hear about us?" Something like that. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, you know," because no one's, like I said, you don't know the effect of advertising on yourself. So if you say, "Why did you come in here?" no one's going to say, "Because I saw your name on the side of the stadium." No one's going to say that.
Which there's all these devious psychologists out there who understand that stuff. Like the early days of marketing is largely, it's all being done by people who study how the mind works and how the brain works. It's not done by creative types. It's like, I think it was like Freud's nephew was like the first guy who really got into marketing in a big way, and understanding the deep psychology behind why people buy stuff. And I think his first big campaign was suffragettes, having them smoke cigarettes in a parade, because it was like he turned cigarettes into like a symbol of women liberating themselves, and all of a sudden cigarette sales went through the roof for women. But that all came from his understanding of what their desires were and how he could align the purchase of cigarettes with those desires.
Right. And you can certainly, you're exactly right. Like it's such an analytical side of tracking that down. And you like brands run A/B commercials where like, or even like for example, on DirecTV, they'll run an ad, but on Comcast, they won't run the ad. And so then they'll be able to tell in the markets where they ran the ad, was there an increase in sales? And then they can say whether they think their ad was effective. The thing that I just thought of also, which is a good point, we brought this up, I think offline, I don't think we talked about this, but the big thing, one of the big things now is location data. Like, for example, WeatherBug. If you ever had WeatherBug installed on your phone, all WeatherBug was, their company, all they did made money was selling where you went. So basically, for example, to answer my own question, or potentially answer my own question, Lincoln Financial may have been buying location data. They may buy location data from people's cell phones and tell, okay, are these people who are in the area of Lincoln Financial when there's a big event? Do we see an upswing when there's a lot of people around there in new clients at Lincoln Financial? And if there is, and if that goes away when there's not a big event, we can draw a correlation, maybe not a causation yet, but a correlation between the people who see Lincoln Financial on the side of the stadium and the people we get as new clients. Yeah,
and I mean, to roll it all back to technology, I don't think there's been a better time in the history of marketing than there is right now, because there's just so much data about people, both on an individual level and on sort of a group level, which I guess kind of we've come full circle to the fact that while advertising is sort of the right brain side of your marketing, where you need to have sort of a good creative approach to getting the word out about your company, you can't succeed without that left brain side of analyzing both before the fact in terms of who you're going to target and how you're going to target them, and after the fact determining how effective that advertising was.
Right. And by the way, this is something you brought up. It is the golden age now of advertising and marketing. Like there's only going to be more money put into this because, again, there's more data available. And now we've seen at the beginning of the internet, not the beginning, but the first kind of big marketing data push was like search. You could basically target people in Google based on what they searched for. Mm-hmm. So you could target someone who is searching for like fishing. You could target them with like a fishing vacation kind of thing. Yep. So they would see it in Google. Then you could start targeting them based on what sites they visited, also through like Facebook and Google and stuff like that. Then you could start targeting them based on what they said they liked. Facebook brought this in. So if you say you like fishing, then you could show that person a advertisement for fishing vacation kind of thing. Yep. Then what we're talking about is what I just mentioned is location data. So then you could see if someone like lives in the middle of the country where there's no place to fish, but they're walking around like tackle or like places that sell fishing gear, you can target those people with a fishing vacation. And then the new one, which I sent you the link about the other day, is now Amazon is going to start opening up purchasing data. Yeah. So if you're trying to sell a fishing vacation, Amazon will give you data so you can target fishing vacations at people who just bought a fishing pole.
Yeah, and which immediately trumps everything that's ever been done.
Exactly.
It's for people actually buying stuff.
Right, exactly. So we are just getting, it's kind of like the left brain's like dream. Like we're just getting more and more data.
As with everything, this is like left brain paradise, because there's such a sea of data out there right now, and the import of big data. Big data gets thrown around a lot, but it really is. It all comes down to the ability to analyze and respond to the data that's coming in, whether it's about your product, whether it's about your company, brand awareness, whatever it is. The data's out there. It's sort of contingent upon you to use that data intelligently to sort of build these marketing campaigns.
Yeah, and draw the correlations. Again, it's easy to draw the correlation between someone who just bought a fishing pole may want to go on a fishing vacation, but like, what indicators do you need for someone who may be looking for a financial advisor?
And also what advertising is most effective to sort of like the topic du jour. What creative is most effective for that segment of people? What's the best way to approach it? Maybe that's not, they don't want sort of like the risky out there, crazy commercial. Maybe, people who buy bait and tackle want sort of like an old fashioned homey, good timey commercial. Maybe that's the thing that converts the best. And that's the kind of data that you have to respond to and use it to improve your advertising campaigns.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's probably a good place to leave it for this episode of the Gunner Technology Livestream. Make sure to tune in next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the next episode. Hop on our Facebook page and sign up for the Country Shore giveaway. Speaking of bait and tackle, Country Shore is a lifestyle brand for anyone who loves the outdoors. You can visit them at countryshoreoutfitters.com. And while you're on our Facebook page, go ahead and answer our question of the week, which this week coming up. What is that, Cody?
How have you given up on your 2019 goal / resolution?
And no shame. I think everyone's we all set high bars on January 1st, and come January, 2nd, maybe 3rd, those bars are way too high. So no shame. Hop on our Facebook page. Let us know if you've given up your resolution. You can check out the blog post for this episode at gunnertech.com. The podcast will be available on iTunes. You can view our ebooks on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iBooks, Kobo, and anywhere else ebooks are sold. And make sure to tune in next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the next episode of the Gunner Technology Livestream. I'm Dare, that's Cody. We'll see you next week.